John Hathaway was born in 1844. He is Gertrude and Charles Hathaway's fourth child. When he was little, he was always following his older brothers. He was especially close with his brother Christopher, even though he was always poking fun at him. John couldn't handle being drafted. He was lucky to be stationed with his brother Christopher. He had heard too many stories and didn't want to fight in a war. He struggled to keep up during training and would sometimes break down and cry. His brother didn't believe he would make it. They would always argue. Christopher told him he was going to die, and that was the last time they spoke. When he was on the battlefield, he knew Christopher was right. With all the gunfire, it was hard to avoid getting hit. The next thing he knew, he was at a hospital. He didn't know how he got there, but he was scared and alone. There was something familiar about the man beside him. He looked just like his missing father. Upon further inspection, John realized that was his father. The nurse told him his father was found in horrible condition and was lucky to be alive. After months of recovery, John was finally able to speak with him. Charles told him that he was being tortured for years. As they caught up, Charles was slowly becoming his old self again. It felt good to have one another. In that time, John had fallen for one of the nurses who helped him. Her name was Adelaide. In late 1865, John and Charles had finally come home. The family was whole again. John was still upset with Christopher after what he said. He refused to speak to him. Gertrude was relieved to have them back, and Charles couldn't be happier to be home. The next year they received a visit. Adelaide had come to check on them. Her and John had rekindled their love. They were married that year and moved just across from his family home. There they lived happily together. Sometimes John would have nightmares of war. Adelaide would comfort him as best she could. In 1868, they were expecting their first child. The young couple were excited to soon meet their bundle of joy. Months later, they welcomed their little girl. They named her Doris Hathaway. She was a wonderful addition to the family. In 1871, they had another little girl. Her name was Linda Hathaway. Besides the nightmares, John was incredibly grateful for the life he had. He wouldn't trade it for anything else.